Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Meesha.
Welcome back to another episode of the North Atlanta Real Estate Podcast with your quick-witted and sometimes sarcastic host, Meesha Rawal.
And Jeff Aughey.
And today we're going to say what a lot of people around here are thinking, but don't really say it out loud. The U.S. News ranked Johns Creek the #1 best place to live in the entire United States, and we're calling it that ranking doesn't pass the smell test.
This might be a little controversial episode, but yeah, I thought when I first heard that, I'm like, yeah, Johns Creek is nice, but it's not even the best city in the Metro Atlanta region. So how can you say in the entire country? It sounded a little crazy. So it is a great place. We like it. We sell homes there, but #1 in the entire country? So any case, let's talk about that today. And if you know North Atlanta, you know why it's a questionable kind of a ranking. If you live in Johns Creek and you disagree with us, good, please help convince us. Drop some comments in here. Tell us what we're missing. We're not trying to be polite here. We're just trying to be honest and get a real look at this. So let's dive in.
That's right, Jeff. So here's the problem with national rankings. They can reward spreadsheets more than reality. You can check the boxes on quality of life and still miss what makes a city feel like a city, like the quintessential feel of a city.
Exactly. Because when we're talking best place to live, it isn't a math equation. So it's like, do you have a true center? Can you actually get around easily? Does the city have an identity?
Yeah, and if you're talking about identity, I feel Alpharetta has an amazing personality, amazing identity. Johns Creek is still building one.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go kind of straight to the big point is like, how can you rank a place #1 city to live in the country when it doesn't even really have a city center?
Yeah, Johns Creek is essentially a collection of, in my humble opinion, a collection of excellent neighborhoods. But a #1 city usually has a heart, a downtown, a main street, a core, a place where everyone congregates.
Yeah, and Johns Creek is acknowledging that, I think, in their own way, and they know that. And they're doing some things to try to change that. And so that's why they're actively developing this, town center with a project like Medley and Boardwalk. So they are working on it.
Yeah, and we've done an entire episode on Johns Creek. So if someone wants to listen to what the Medley and the Boardwalk is all about, by all means, go check out that episode. And, the Medley and the Boardwalk are great. But, we've got to be real. If you're actively trying to create a downtown, it means you really don't have one yet.
Yeah, exactly. And so, for Alpharetta, we have downtown Alpharetta is a real place to go, and Avalon is a real destination. And they're actually connected, and so you can walk between the two. And we have some neighborhoods that are halfway down Thompson Street where they're kind of in the midpoint, and you can get to both areas, and it's a real identity, a real attraction that it has a lot of people go there. Mm-hmm. And I know Johns Creek's working on it. We're not saying it's a bad place, but it's not there yet.
Yeah, and you live in downtown Alpharetta, and one of the reasons why you bought your house here was the walkability, the bustling nightlife, the restaurants.
Absolutely. I mean, we have many events here that draw thousands and thousands of people. I think some of the Taste of Alpharetta was getting 50 and 60,000 people that came here.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
We have
the farmers market.
Yeah, we have the farmers market. And I'm sure, they have some stuff, and they're adding stuff like that over in Johns Creek. It's just we've been here longer. We've been working on it longer. And so it's really hard for me to see that they got the #1 ranking when Alpharetta is right here. And I'm like, how did they miss Alpharetta?
You sound salty, Jeff.
I am a little salty. I was like, that really blew my mind.
Yeah. And, when buyers relocate, they want to know, where do we go on a Saturday? What do we do when we have visitors? Where do we take them? Where's our place in, quotes unquotes? Let's talk about convenience, like you said.
Yeah.
A lot of Metro Atlanta's life is built around corridors, and for North Fulton, for us, Georgia 400 is huge.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those things where the ranking feels a little detached from the reality. Johns Creek is great. When you're talking safety in schools and neighborhoods and all those things that help to get these rankings. But for many people, the farther you are from Georgia 400, it makes it really tough on your daily life and commuting, the runs to the airport, getting to certain job pockets, and just how easy is it to get around?
Yeah, especially if you're stuck on McGinnis Ferry at the 5 o'clock traffic, right on the corner of Peachtree Parkway and McGinnis. Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
It is. And one thing also, and it's one of those things when you live here, is Alpharetta is a much more concentrated, if you will, more like a rectangle in its geography. But you have Johns Creek stretches way out to the east at the border of Gwinnett County, out McGinnis Ferry, like you say, and then it winds to the west and then down far south. And Johns Creek is also all the way down at Holcomb Bridge Road, which is pretty close in, but it's not much of Johns Creek there. And so it is so far apart, it's hard to have a true identity, because the people that are living down on Holcomb Bridge, for them to get to the new city center downtown, that's going to be a hike.
True. That's true.
Yeah.
And I want to say that Alpharetta, and correct me if I'm wrong, pretty much has like 3 exits that are dedicated to it on 400. You have the 10, the 11, and I would say even 12, because it brings you right towards McFarland and into Windward Parkway. And they're building another exit, which is like, I think 12B.
Yeah,
12A,
right, correct, yeah.
So we'll have like 4 exits coming right into Alpharetta from 400 and Johns Creek. Like, you really have to figure out which exit. Should I take 9? Should I get an 8? But I feel like that way Alpharetta has a built-in advantage. It's more naturally connected for a big chunk of North Atlanta's work and lifestyle patterns.
Yeah, I think when you're in Johns Creek, you really do have to talk about where in Johns Creek you are. It makes a big difference. If you are, like we said, way out east by Gwinnett County, out McGinnis Ferry, you're kind of in no man's land. You're actually much closer to I-85 then, and that's the way you're going to be going down into town. But you can also be in some areas in Johns Creek where we are, where you're right next to Alpharetta too, or they abut right next to each other. So some parts of Johns Creek are convenient. So it's like, you really have to be careful in Johns Creek. It's like, where are you going to live in Johns Creek makes a big difference. Exactly.
It's like that corner between Douglas Road. The left of Douglas Road is Alpharetta, because it goes to Alpharetta High School, and the right is Chattahoochee High School. And one of my son's friends, when they were in elementary school, they had to like split up. So the middle school split up between Taylor Road and Webbridge Middle School, even though we live like literally 2 minutes apart.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the schools?
Yeah, schools are always the headline. People want to know which is better. Johns Creek is better or Alpharetta is better, because we have Johns Creek High School, we have Chattahoochee High School, and then for Alpharetta, we have the Alpharetta High School.
Yeah, so here really the schools, I think it's fair to say, aren't really a big separator, right? They're pretty consistent. The schools in Johns Creek are excellent. The schools in Alpharetta are excellent. I think we'd be hard pressed to say one has a big advantage over another. And this would be a good thing. If somebody has a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. But I mean, that's the way I've always viewed it. My kids, went to Chattahoochee, which actually is in Johns Creek technically right now, right? And then so as Johns Creek became a city, right? I was here long before Johns Creek was even a city. So the schools are excellent in both. So I don't know that I would give anybody a big nod there, although we can say that Innovation Academy in downtown Alpharetta is fantastic, right? I mean, one of your sons goes there.
Yeah, and I've seen a few families even contemplate moving closer to Innovation Academy just for the commute. And so if they live in Johns Creek, they've thought, if not actually pulled the trigger, of being closer to Innovation Academy just for that prestige.
Yeah.
And we talk about what rankings mean for schools as a reason Johns Creek is clearly number 1 over Alpharetta, but it's not that simple.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I would just say, look, it's a wash. The schools are very similar. I wouldn't say one is better than the other. It'd be hard pressed, I'd say, right?
Yeah. And talking about city maturity, you said that you were here before Johns Creek was actually Johns Creek.
Yeah, I moved into the area in 1994, and it was just called Alpharetta then. It was just kind of it wasn't even incorporated Alpharetta where I lived. It was just unincorporated area. And then in 2006, they did divide up all the rest of the real estate. They created the city of Johns Creek. Where I lived became incorporated into the city of Alpharetta, and they divided up everything, all of the area up here. They created the city of Milton, and that got some of the land. Roswell took some of the unincorporated area as well. And so now there's no unincorporated North Fulton County left.
Yeah, Johns Creek was incorporated, I believe, in 2006, so about
That's
20
right.
years ago in Alpharetta. I want to say we go back to 1858.
It is.
Where, yeah.
It's crazy to see some of the old pictures there. It was like nothing, right? It's like a couple of buildings and a road that came through and stuff. But yeah, it was here. Absolutely. So, I think, younger doesn't mean worse, right? But when you're handing out this trophy, right? The best city in America, aren't you saying sort of it's got to be the most complete package? And it's hard in my mind that you can make that claim when there isn't really a city that is, it's still building and being defined, right? It's not mature. It doesn't have everything there yet.
True,
right?
true. And, I wish they had given Alpharetta that trophy because we already have those ingredients baked in. We have a city center, we have a destination, we have an amazing personality identity, and a broader footprint that people recognize nationally.
And I think a lot of good parks woven in, and we have a lot, right? A lot of what makes a city great. So,
Yeah. And then there's gravity. Alpharetta has, I feel, a stronger pull. Like, when we moved in here, they were like, well, where do you live? What's your address? And Alpharetta pulls in the jobs. They have a corporate energy and a brand that people outside Georgia actually recognize.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, there's a reason why people saying, I'm moving to Alpharetta. It has... I would say Johns Creek, in fairness, is gaining ground in some ways because of this article. I mean, now it has created some buzz. And so that's great for Johns Creek, but it's kind of like, Alpharetta was definitely that title before they got this little nod in the U.S. News and World Report.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And people say, well, I'm moving to Alpharetta, even though they're generally moving to this side of town. And I feel studies have singled out Alpharetta for career opportunities, right? We have so many businesses, and we've done an episode on Alpharetta that our listeners can listen to see how vibrant and how lucrative Alpharetta is, especially if you're in the tech industry.
Yeah, Alpharetta's just been working. They've had a good city government, as Johns Creek does, that has been working on identity of tech-friendly, tech-heavy in Alpharetta. We have this corridor that 400 helps us connect down into, sort of the hospital area down in perimeter 400 area. And then, of course, it goes down into Buckhead and continue on. So, I was just surprised that Johns Creek was singled out. It doesn't really trigger me as much as it sounds, right? But, Johns Creek is fantastic, but it seems like Alpharetta is just more of a complete live, work, play area that's already developed,
True.
right?
We both sound salty at this point. So here's our argument in one sentence. I think this is my argument,
Okay.
Jeff.
All right.
Johns Creek is a great place to live, but Alpharetta is a more complete city experience right now. Right now.
I think that's fair. When you say right now, yes. And if U.S. News had ranked Johns Creek as one of the best, I'd say fine. It is an amazing place to live, no question. But number one in America, I think that's what really caught my eye. And so, yeah.
And if you're a Johns Creek resident, try to convince us. Seriously, what are we missing? Is it the parks, the community, the feel, the safety? Drop it in the comments.
Yeah, and if you're an Alpharetta person,
like us,
tell us why you think Alpharetta should have been the number one pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And either ways, if you're a buyer, both are excellent choices. The real best is what fits your commute, your lifestyle, your budget, and your family.
Yep. But as local pros, we're going to say it here. Alpharetta has the strongest case for number one today. Now, maybe that'll change down the road a year. But right today, Alpharetta's number one in my mind.
Sounds good, Jeff. And let's call it what it is. We love living in Alpharetta. We love Johns Creek. We love selling in Johns Creek. But Alpharetta is where our heart is. And for more such discussions, and if you have anything to add to our topic, stay tuned, stay informed. Till next time, this is Meesha Rawal.
And Jeff Aughey.
Saying goodbye.
Bye-bye.